Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it is October 11th of 2020, and it is almost 4 p.m. And I haven't taken my weight today, but I think maybe in the past I might have hit three, no, not three. Oh God, please no. I think I might have hit, normally my weight has been like 240, and I retain a lot of water because of my diabetes and stuff like that. I'm not saying that all my fatness is due from, but I don't think I've ever been to 250 before, but close. Maybe I made 250 one time, and I had trouble getting my pants on the other day to get them to. I could do the button, and I knew that was a bad sign. And I weighed, and I was 252 pounds. I know I've never been that weight before, and I think part of it is we've been ordering once or twice a week from Walmart and had having food delivered because I paid for the free delivery on orders over $35. And of course, I have to tip. So that does cost. Sometimes the ex-wife does the ordering. Sometimes we get, $40 worth, $45 worth. And then I usually tip $4, and I feel bad about just doing that. But now if we get 24 packs of Coke, I go ahead and do at least a $7, tip, and depends on how many we get. Sometimes I do the $10 tip. Also, I go by temperature. If it's really hot, then I usually tip $10. If they deliver, three 24 packs of Coke and it's really hot and depends on how much. So, but anyway, so that costs me a little bit of money, especially if we do it once or twice a week. But the ex-wife, every time she orders, what do you want? I go, okay, I should make a pound cake. And they have it in a box. Each one is individually wrapped. And I've been getting some of those. I've been doing pretty good at staying away from ice cream. The ex-wife orders ice cream, Eskimo, the little round or square, the square ones. And I try not, she orders sugar-free on those. But like ice cream sandwiches, but she also has been buying these big boxes of fruit. I don't know what you call them, but they're round, different flavors, and I don't know how many in a little tiny package each, And I just looked, and let's say there's 6 or 7 of those in there, and that's an individual serving, and that's I think I don't count calories. I've never counted calories, and I don't know how much things usually, but I think it's 40 calories for that. And I checked after I normally would, bring in here 2 or 3 packages of them. And I brought in 4 packages. And then I checked, and each one with, 40 calories. Ugh. So I'm having difficulty because of my, uh, I don't know what, the mobility. Part of the mobility problem is, of course, my feet being swollen and the legs being swollen and that type of thing. But part of the problem is, I don't know. I've just told that, at some point, and it's been longer than like a year or so, when I see the general practitioner doctor, you know, I'm saying, I can barely stand up. I can't, and walking from here down to the apartment office to get the mail. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it back when I do. And I can't do, I talked to the heart doctor a little bit about it. And he suggested that, I said, he said, well, both of them have said, I said in the past, it's been more than a year, it's been a couple years, been putting them, they're saying, and I'm saying, I think it's medication. I think it's one or more of the medications I'm taking. No, 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 no. You need all these medications that you're taking. And I said, I think it's one. No, no, no. It's just, just old age. Old age. Because part of it is I don't remember when, and I didn't write it down. I used to keep for years and years and years. I kept a written diary, and it really came in handy uh, because I could look things up, from you, flip through it. Had a collection, a insurance collection company or whatever. Some insurance company paid for their client, and their client or somebody, the collection, they're this insurance collection agency. I don't think that's what they call themselves, but they collect, so they weren't the original insurance company, but it was turned over to them that a car with with a license tag on it in Kansas City, Kansas, on such and such a date and a time, ran their client off the road, and so then I'm sure they tried to find who it was. I don't know whatever, but then it must have been years later because this was years later. Then they turned it over to this insurance collection agency, and they sent me a letter that said, on such and such a date, such and such a time, you ran, our client off the road, and you owe damages to the car, and I forget what it was. That's several $100s, I'm sure, and you need to submit that money to us immediately, or we are going to notify the state of Missouri, and your driver's license will be revoked. Of course, I knew I didn't do it, and one reason I knew I didn't do it was, well, one, it wasn't my state tag. The other thing was, I was living in Kansas City, Missouri. I hadn't been in Kansas City, Kansas, which is, at some point you can just walk across the street and you're in Kansas City, Kansas. But I had not been in Kansas City, Kansas for years and years and years. And so anyway, I wrote him back a letter and I said, I am expecting and demanding from you a letter of apology right away, and stating in there that you have no intention of contacting, the state of Missouri about my driver's license. If I do not hear from you immediately, I will be notifying and I forget what it is, the state agency that regulates insurance companies and blah 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 and other, whatever. I hit all the things, and I said I hope to hear from you soon, and I got a thing back right away. Sorry, Mr. Howard. Yeah, we're not going to notify and don't have, blah blah blah. So that was the end of that, and that was from that diary. Now, of course, like I said, I had not been in Kansas City, Kansas, for, I don't know, 15, 20 years, or I don't know how long. But anyway, that diary came in handy, but I had a whole stack of them. But when my wife decided she wanted a divorce, and since she wanted a divorce, I gave her a divorce. Uh, as things went on, I wrote things in, for, years after I was writing, well, I mean, I wasn't writing about it all the time, but when how things come up, and I put it in the diary. And then on a couple occasions, I don't think, maybe I started like looking for something, and then I had these stack out, and I started reading through it, reading through these things, and I was okay with the divorce and everything, but I read these pages or whatever, and man, I got pissed, and everything. So I just destroyed them all, and I wish I'd have kept up doing the diary, but maybe not maybe putting in instead, oh, I just tried Linux version such and such of such and such on such and such, and the reason I didn't like it, I wish I'd have put that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff I was putting in there, but I wish I'd have kept doing that. I've paid a few times for programs that I'd already paid for that I didn't know that I'd paid for, and I've installed a program, format my computer or something and install some version of Linux, and I go, oh wow, I did try that version of Linux before, and I didn't like this or that, and so sort of wish I had kept that up. The way I ended up starting a diary was my mother. Every year I would get her I'm not. She must have asked for one, and every year before the beginning of the year, then I'd get it was a nice, it had a nice cover on it. There was a nice. It wasn't terribly expensive, but it was a nice thing, and I would get her one, and then of course at some point she was like, oh, no point in getting me one, for next year, because I won't be around. And of course she was around for, I don't know, 20 years after that, always saying, no, don't need, to get me. But she wrote in it all the time. So when she passed away, I had to clean out her, room and everything. And it was stacked. And I flipped open, oh shit, oh shit, stuff that she'd written in, because she also had Alzheimer's at the last, and I thought, I should look at these, It might say in here, there's $1 million. Well, of course, with Alzheimer's, she would have said that, but I should have, the gold bullion is buried, or, whatever. But what I saw, same thing, I just destroyed all of them. So, I don't have a script. Never have. I should. I think one time I did download. It didn't work very well. I forget what kind of computer I was using. I mean, it would have been a PC, but I mean, was it a, XT or what? I forget what kind of stat, but the thing didn't work very well. The program, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't have a teleprompter, but I might have notes. The closest I have done, and I'm not doing today, is I'll bookmark a page, and then then I go to that, and that's one way I do it. By the way, I am running. I switched back to Windows 10, and I just upgraded, or just did an upgrade. So, OS build, that'll tell us, won't it? Okay, running Windows 10 Pro 1909. That's what I'm running. I just saw the headline someplace. Might have been down here. This plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan, or was it Wisconsin? Michigan. Whoops.
I hate to say I love the kid, but I'm mad right now. I'm just shocked, mad. You help somebody out and then they pull that stuff.
Bryant Titus says one of the suspects in the alleged domestic terror.
Yeah. I saw someplace, there was a picture that I saw on CNN not long ago of, at the Michigan State House, there was like 15 guys, flak vest, assault rifles, all kinds of stuff inside the Capitol building, lined up on, the wall, along the wall or whatever there in front of doors that probably go into the governor's office or go into the assembly meeting room or something. And it said in the story about that in Michigan, it's against the law to take a gun into the state capitol. So now, the story is that I don't know how many. Some of the people in that photograph are ones who were plotting to kill or to kidnap the governor and to kill police officers. And so, apparently those guys got into the state capitol back then. And I guess because they were so heavily armed or something, the security or the police decided, watch them, and then let them do their little protest or whatever. Then maybe that was the deal too. I don't know what the deal was. Hey, okay, you guys want to protest, you want a photo, okay, and then you have to leave, and maybe that's what happens. But I don't know. I can see, if you go up to, these guys are, that's more, that's what, a couple SWAT teams or something, if you count them as, 15 guys or something and heavily armed, that's like 2 police SWAT teams, SWAT teams or something. I feel like I'm saying SWAT or squat. But I think they should have been confronted. But not if it was going to revolve, not if it was going to become a shootout. Their blood would have been running down the marbled floors of the state capitol and out into the street, and people would have been, protesting the slaughter of these men who were just, their Second Amendment rights, and if they were protesting Black Lives Matter or something, they wouldn't have been killed and that kind of stuff. But I think they should have been confronted, identify yourself, and serial numbers checked on the weapons and whatever. And of course, undoubtedly, several of them would have been felons who were not supposed to have firearms or something. Because it's always that way. You think, my God, these people go out to protest or do something, and then it turns out, that how stupid can you be? So, because when they did arrest these guys, by the way, I remember when they arrested them, for this plot to kidnap the governor, and they were also finding out police officers' home addresses. And because they were going to, kill the police officers and to keep them from responding. And they wanted to kill them like at home, rather than to go into a police station or something, and have And what's also crazy, I mean, all this is crazy. What's crazy is I believe when they were protesting in the state capitol, that they said they were protesting in support of the police department. And undoubtedly at the same time, they were making plans to kill police officers. So I'm running OBS, by the way, an excellent program. I've mentioned this before. It fascinates me in a way because I always like to solve problems. Because I think, well, maybe I'm, maybe it makes me think that I'm smarter, or because I have a solution. Unfortunately, I have a solution to just about everything, or a position on it or something. But since President Donald Trump is the worst president that we've ever had, the only good thing I can think about is that we could analyze the situation and say, okay, we need to change these things. We need to fix these things or whatever. Like I mentioned before, I think the Electoral College needs to be changed. And I'm sure studies have been done and ideas have come up, and I don't know what they are, but the Electoral College is, it's a mess. Because you have now like Trump communicating to Republican governors saying, hey, you control the electoral people in your state that are picked, so you can do the following, to make sure I win. I mean, stuff like that, crazy stuff. And then there's other stuff. So I think the Electoral College needs to be changed, but it will not happen because the Republicans have won 2 elections. Trump did not get the popular vote. He lost the popular vote, but he got the Electoral College votes. And Bush, on Bush's first term, he also, that vote was really close between Al Gore and Bush. Really, really close. And Bush won only by electoral, college. Actually, I think after the election, it turned out that investigations were done, not by the government, I don't think, but done by different agencies, and Al Gore actually won. But it was so close, and Al Gore, would have had to fight it out, in the courts or whatever, and we'd have had the first time that inauguration day was coming around, January 20th or whatever, would have if he'd have fought it out in the courts, would have come around and we wouldn't know who's going to be occupying the and so he decided to concede, and Democratic operatives and people, they were angry at him for not fighting it out, but he did. He did the right thing. He did, well, maybe it wasn't the right thing because we ended up with Bush, and then we end up with these wars and, going into things, and then torturing, enhanced, and, so maybe it wasn't the right thing to do, but he did what he thought was the right thing. He did the honorable thing, and he did the, what was best for the country thing. Might not have been best for the people in Iraq, and, but so the Electoral College needs to be problem fixed. But it's not going to happen because the Republicans are going to see it as, the Democrats want to, I mean, it should be set up where it's not to the advantage of any, But the Republicans they'll think, oh, you're just trying to cheat, which wouldn't be cheating. But the other thing is gerrymandering. That's just so stupid when you see some of these districts that are drawn, okay, like snakes or whatever. Okay, go over here because we'll take in these white people here, take in these white people over here, and skip around these Hispanic areas or these black areas and take in this area here. That way we'll be sure that we're going to have a white person elected to that. And now when they do that, it maybe ends up 5 areas they do something like that on. And then they do one, because they have to. They do one, okay, we'll take in this black area here, go over here, take in a black area here, go down here, there. And now those people will get, they'll get one black person elected to that. Meanwhile, we've adjusted this thing over here where we're getting 5, 6, 7, a black person is probably not going to be elected in because it's an all white area or something, So that needs to be fixed. But I'm not sure that the Democrats or Republicans want to fix it because in the past it's worked for both sides. Except the problem is the Republicans have pushed it to the extreme. The Democrats did that when they had control of state legislatures. They did that too, and then the Republicans did it when they took over or whatever. But at some point, of course, the Republicans go, so when you look at the map, you go, oh my God, So I think that should be changed. I'm not sure, though, that either side, because the Democrats will be like, okay, I think we're going to win the Missouri state legislature this time. So let's not, and then, of course, the Republicans will be someplace, hey, I think we're going to win, or we control, So I don't think that's going to happen. I think we need to amend the, the Constitution of the United States. Right now to be, President of the United States, you need to be 35 years old, born in the United States, and that's it. I think, unfortunately, I hate to see us I think we need to put some crap in there, like, you have to submit a financial form before you can be a candidate for the presidency of the United States. Or, well, you could be a candidate for, the president, but your name will not appear on any state ballot, it won't appear on the ballots. So, and instead of saying you have to turn in, a copy of your income tax or whatever, it might be better if Democrats and and Republicans would in Congress for the, changing of the Constitution, which has to be voted on and signed by the president, has to go to the states, and 2/3 or 3/4 of them state legislatures have to approve it, and it's hard. But maybe there should be, a form, name, Donald J. Trump, date of birth or social security number or whatever. I guess you should strip out, when you're showing it to the public, the social security number or something like that. Somebody doesn't get access to the guy's credit card or something, although I doubt that Trump has any credit you could use. But and then, ask the pertinent questions, do you have any dealings with any foreign countries financially? Why, I'd have to put in the legalese and all that kind of stuff. Put that information in there, and then it should be, if you're signing this under, if you sign and it's untrue, you're guilty of perjury. But the main thing would be and it should be investigated. So I guess you'd have the FBI investigate it. Would some other agency need to investigate it? Because I don't know, but it should be if you make a mistake on this. I mean, of course, if somebody, I don't know how you'd make a mistake on it, but if you make a mistake on it, then that's it. You're not allowed to, and hell, make it. You can't apply. 4 years from now. Also, I mean, make it. And then also make it if you lie on this statement. You'll be charged with perjury, and so we need a constitutional amendment to something. By the way, we've learned. And I don't know how you handle that, and maybe it would be a mistake, Trump's appeal with an awful lot of people was that he wasn't a politician. He's not a politician. Okay, we've seen a president who is not, a politician. It fucking sucks. He's it's just he doesn't know what he's doing. He won't listen to anybody. So, but I don't know what are you going to do. Say, okay, well, you have to have held some public offices. Well, I was dog catcher. I was, no. I mean, it'd have to be. All that would have to be. Maybe you could say you have to watch all the episodes of West Wing, and you'll be tested on West Wing, the TV show. You have to watch all episodes, and there'll be a test after each episode that you have to take. I'm kidding about that, but so we should want somebody who has political experience. But then also, Trump's appeal to a lot of people was that he was, a businessman. And yeah, you would think, okay, somebody who's run corporations, somebody who's, hired employees and done, but we know Trump has every business that he's had any contact with, and he's had contact with a bunch of them. They've all gone, his steak company, his wine company, his casinos. He lost money on a casino. I mean, he went, it closed. How can casinos don't lose money? They take in money. They don't lose money. So the idea of a businessman, that's what we want. That didn't work. And how you, unless we could just get into people's minds, no, we don't want somebody we don't want somebody to be elected president who has no political experience. We don't want somebody elected who's just been a, businessman. If you're going to do that, what we should just do is, if we're going to have something like we've had this time, is, there's 330 million people in the United States. Okay, subtract the number of people under 35, and let's say that's, I don't know, let's say that's 200 million people that are over 35 years of age, with the Constitution specifies, you have to be 35 or older. And then maybe you should put a top thing in there. I'm going to be 80 here in a few months. Maybe there should be a top limit too. But let's just make it 35. Okay. Then just do some type of it. Had to make sure it was fair. Just okay. There's 250 million Americans that are over 35. Just fucking pick one. I mean, lottery or random number generates something rather than come up with, hey, we need to find Jim Howard, James J. Howard III, born in March of 1941. Where is he? Well, he's, been a night watchman all his life. Okay, he's President of the United States. Of course, I have been more than, but that's or okay, well, he's homeless in Miami. He lives on the street in Miami. Well, he's picked. He's President of the United States. Get some there to get some people to clean him up and feed him and whatever's necessary, because on January 20th he's going to be, something like that. I don't know. I mean, crazy talk, but I mean, this system didn't, picking somebody who's a businessman, that didn't work. Picking somebody who has no political experience, that didn't work. And I'm not sure that if you had a random generating number and you picked somebody off, just picked them and put them in the thing, I don't think they could do any worse than, of course, what if you could do it? That'd be hard to do, but if you did have something like that, which is crazy, but if you could screen out the people who are mentally ill, the ones who have Alzheimer's, then you might have a better chance. But so anyway, we've talked about College of Cardinals. No, not the College of Cardinals. Electoral College. Gerrymandering. What would what would be required to be a presidential candidate? Should there be a limit on, like, age? Both of these candidates, Biden is older, not by much. Now, I'll be 80 in a few months. I could be President of the United States, and I would do a good job. And I don't have a college degree. I would do great. Sort of sound like Donald Trump, don't I? Because I would pick the best people. I wouldn't pick them because, okay, this guy appeared on Fox News and said that Jim Howard is, he's a great person or whatever, and I want that person for Secretary of State or that wouldn't, I'd pick the best people, Democrat or Republican or Independent, and when issues came up, and I wouldn't understand a whole bunch of them, like if they said, okay, well, Mr. President, we need to make a decision on the new missile that we're going to, be using on our Navy jets or whatever, and it's between the X-1 and the Z-12 and the Iran, come up with some number, the Z, the COVID-19 or something, which one of these? I don't know what, so, explain it, have everybody come in, explain it to me briefly, and then I would have the experts come in, okay, what do you think? And then, of course, also it would be like, Congress, they hold hearings and of course they also decide those sort of things, where they're going to put the money. But yeah, I could be president. Now, could I be a doctor? No. I couldn't even be a nurse, because if you're a nurse or a doctor, of course with computers coming, I wonder, but let's say a doctor, if you could just be picked to be a doctor, I couldn't do that job. I could be a hospital administrator. But we need to. On the other hand, I think what we just need to do is, but how do you do that, especially now? Let's just have an educated electorate. I mean, about half of the people who vote in the United States voted for Donald Trump. They voted in spite of the information about him, in spite of the things he said, in spite of the things we know that he did, and they voted for him because he was, he had a TV show or something. So if we had a better educated voters, also we do have freedom of the press, so you couldn't say, okay, well, Fox News you can't lie about this person or about politics. You can't say that President Obama was born in Africa and he wasn't born in the United States. Because if you think that President Obama was not born in the United States, you shouldn't be a voter, But I don't know how you deal with that type of. And I'm not sure that our schools now. Well, one thing there used to be back a long time ago. Radio stations. Let's take radio stations. TV stations too. If they had somebody on, like the news or something like that, they had to give the other side. So if somebody came on a radio show and said, we should have the right to carry guns any place because of the Second Amendment. We should be allowed to carry guns any place, into churches, into the halls of Congress and everything else because we have the Second Amendment, blah, 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 whatever. Then the radio station or TV station had to allow somebody to come in who would give the other, no, we have a Second Amendment, but that doesn't mean that private businesses can't, and to give their point of view. But the Federal Communications Commission, did away with that. Forget what it was called. And they did away with that. And that was, especially with what you can do with the internet and, podcast and all that kind of stuff. But now, like Fox News and CNN, they may own stations, a few stations, but they don't own all the stations. And they're not really they do broadcast, but they send their signal, not into your TV set, but to the satellite that goes down to go through a cable or something or other. But maybe the Federal Communications Commission needs to step in and I think they still do it, but like radio stations, because they use frequencies that belong to the American people, really, and there's a limited number of them, a limited amount of them. Maybe they should go back to, they have to, I think once a year or something, a radio, unless the FCC did away with it, they have to show why they should have their FCC license renewed. And it used to be radio stations were, fuck, we got to fill this thing out again. Okay, well, we gave so much time to this group here to talk about saving dogs and whatever, the thing, and we did this, and then they would turn the thing in. Of course, I think they were, I wonder if the FCC ever, did not approve a FCC license that had already been granted. They didn't. But maybe that should be the thing is, okay, FCC, of course the court would rule, I think, against it. But the FCC would have authority over Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, I don't know what other ones there are. And if you say that the president of of the United States was born in Africa and not in the United States, strike one. If you come up with crazy shit, not one thing, because two, you're going to have somebody on the show that's going to, like Giuliani or whatever, going to have somebody who's nuts. Unfortunately, I mean, I think he has Alzheimer's, or I don't know what he has, but maybe it should be, how would the stations, how would CNN and Fox News and others, if you could be shut down or like taken over because of deliberate, lies and distortions, and those things do hurt the country, because you can see we've got like half the country Fox News fans. They will not watch CNN. I've dealt with them. I'm like, I wouldn't even be talking about politics. I'd be at work or whatever, and did you see the story about such and such? And then somebody would say, no, where was it? What channel was it on? I said, I don't know what channel it was on. And because in the past, a long time ago, I would flip over something. I would want to get like their point of view. I'd be watching CNN, let's say. Oh, there's a news story. I wonder what the conservative shift or idea on this would be. And I'd flip over. And of course, eventually I stopped doing that because it was shit, bullshit, lies. And, if somebody lies, at some point, just don't even, just accept everything as a lie, no matter what the person says. But that's dangerous when you have the President of the United States lying like that, because, he may pop on the screen and say, everybody needs to, we have detected rockets have been launched, from North Korea or whatever. Everybody take shelter. And it'd be like, he's never told the truth about anything, so I'm going to go out and look and see what he's talking about in the sky or something or other, so. But, yeah, maybe it would not work, having the FCC actually, One thing I would like to see, and this is going to piss off a bunch of people, I think churches that, they're tax exempt, and they can own property, and they're tax exempt. They can own businesses, they're tax exempt, because it's owned by the church or whatever. I think if you have the First Baptist Church of Atlanta or whatever, if they're preaching the gospel as they see it or whatever, as long as if that's what they do, tax free, and let them have some property across the street, tax free. Right down the street there's a business or whatever, and they purchase that business, and before it was a little store that was selling lottery tickets and booze to the area, and they take the store over and they don't sell alcohol, and they don't sell lottery tickets. Be a lot of unhappy people, but if they let them be tax-free, if that's what they want to do. But as soon as they have people in their church up on the pulpit saying, Democrats are killing babies, Democrats are communists, be sure and vote, and we're passing out here, and now we're going to have a speaker for Donald Trump here who's going to tell you about a great American, whatever. They should have to pay taxes. That would stop that. Then you wouldn't have any churches, And the same with, like, the Catholic Church. Usually every election time, whoever the presidential candidate is for the Democratic Party, Well, he's out hitting this is different, because of the virus and things. But out hitting the road, and the Democratic candidate, Al Gore, or who, if it's a Catholic, whoever the Democratic candidate is, the pastor of some little Catholic church will say, if he shows up here, he will be denied communion because he is in favor of abortion or whatever. Or it may be the bishop, for the diocese, for the churches. He will, he will not receive communion in this diocese because of his stand on this or that, probably abortion, And I think then that one little church, the pastor gets up there and says that, they have to pay taxes after that. The entire city or whatever the diocese is, and all the Catholic churches there, and whatever other organizations they have, would have to pay taxes. You would not have a Protestant church. They wouldn't be, no, no mention of politics. We're talking about the Bible only, Sure, you can talk about Jesus driving the money changers out of the temple, or you can talk about such, but no political stuff at all. We will have to pay taxes, and it'd be the same with the Catholic Church. No. But too, like for the Catholic churches or whatever, when they do that, Al Gore or whoever the Catholic candidate is, he's not going to show up at their church, And even if he did, is he going to go to communion? And it's just political, 100% political. Now, I don't know what in the world you do, because you have the U.S. Catholic bishops, and they have, meetings, and they come up with, sometimes they come up with good things, they issue a thing saying, that, the poor should be fed, and homeless people should be taken care of, and veterans or whatever, and things that are sort of political, about people who come across the border. Mothers should not be separated from their, from their children or whatever. This is not what Jesus, would have wanted, or something like that. Borderline, political, but that the bishops, thing. I've seen things where they have come out with something that is, it's political. It's a bunch of old white men who are living like princes, in fantastic homes with chauffeured cars and all types of, stuff like that. And then they come out with something that is political or whatever. Okay, that's the bishops, all the U.S., their council or whatever, all of the property that then they wouldn't do that anymore. It would be, church doctrine, and the Bible, and that type of stuff. You wouldn't have that. I'm running the latest Windows. I think I showed you. Did I show you the? I think I did. I just think it's fascinating that these guys who were militia group that were plotting to kidnap the governor of a state, and who were they were getting information on police officers so they could kill them at home. They were also planning on setting off bombs someplace to distract the police, I guess, so that the police would go, like that guy in Sweden or whatever. set a bomb in, I think, the Capitol that went off. Now he set the, I'm not sure if it was on a timer or what, but he set off this bomb in the Capitol, I believe. But then maybe it was on a timer or something. You know, he managed to leave, get on a boat, a little boat, you know, that went out to this little island. And on this little island, once a year, I guess, they had young people, young Swedish, you know, boys and girls who would meet there for political, you know, political reasons or whatever, and, you know, save the dolphins and save the whales and plant more trees and all this type of stuff. And I don't think they had any security there at all because it was Sweden. And he went there with some guns, and it was just like, you know, shooting ducks, easier than shooting ducks. I think he'd probably have a harder time hitting ducks. I mean, I forget how many were killed. It was a slaughter. And now, how did I get on that subject? Oh, so that's what these guys were going to do too, apparently. But then the fact that these guys, before they were arrested, you know, walked into the state capitol of the state with armed to the teeth, you know. I guess they were like pirates or something. They probably had bayonets in their mouth, you know, or swords or something or other, and probably wearing grenades around them, I don't know. And they just stood around, and I don't know what happened, you know, how they, you know, it may be that, how did they get past? Now, what's interesting in Texas, you know, if you go to the Texas State Capitol, and, you know, the entrance, you go up there, you have to, you know, no guns are allowed. You have to show your briefcase and, you know, all that kind of stuff, and scanner, you know, to get in. But if you have a concealed weapons permit, which anybody can get, well, I mean, I guess a paraplegic couldn't get it because you have to go to the range and shoot or something, but anybody can get it. And if you have a concealed weapons permit, you just go to the other door over on, you know, this other door there, and I guess show your permit. I'm not even sure you need to show your permit. I think you could just, I got a permit, walk on, you know, walk on through. So I guess the lawyers and the judges and whoever else is going in there are taking guns, but also it's visitors. And if you have a concealed weapons permit, you just go on through. That is crazy. It ought to be, no, you don't go into, you know, unless you're a police officer or something, you don't go into the state capitol. Well, I wish I could pull that picture up. Wonder if I could. Michigan gun protest at state armed protesters. Armed protesters enter.
The current state of emergency is not the virus. The current state of emergency is Michigan economy.
have the responsibility. That's what freedom means. We all take risks every single day. We get in our cars and drive, even though some people will die in car crashes. And, you know, we have the flu every year, but we don't shut the whole economy down and disrupt all the supply chains. And now we're looking at possible food shortages and who knows what.
Okay, that wasn't it. Let's see, maybe. Well, here's one. Well, these people were outside, though. Okay. Okay, that's not showing it. Let's go back. Why Michigan protesters were allowed to bring guns into the state capitol. Here we are. Okay. Turn off it. Oh. Okay. Oh, come on. Pause on this side. Okay. Because of Michigan's gun laws, protesters were allowed to carry their assault weapons into the state capitol, but not their protest signs. A militia group with no political affiliation. Well, it turns out they did have some political affiliation. From Michigan stand in front of the governor's office after protesters occupied the state capitol building during a vote to approve the extension of armed Michigan protesters drew outrage after attending a session at the Michigan state capitol on Thursday, flaunting their firearms. It turns out it's legal to carry a weapon openly in public spaces in Michigan, mainly because there are no laws explicitly against doing so. The protesters were within their rights to carry their weapons inside the building as long as the person is carrying the weapon with lawful intent and the firearm is not concealed. Okay. So I was wrong. I thought there was like a sign, firearms are not permitted in, this building or whatever. And I wondered how they got in. That's how they got in. And of course, now we know that those guys were making plans to kidnap the governor of the state and explode bombs and kill police officers and okay, I guess that's it. I'm forgetting something. Can't remember now what it was. I think I had an idea. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.